Hello again, everybody. I'm Annie with the St. Paul Saints. And I just want you all to know that we originally looked at a different orientation of the ballpark. And we spent a lot of money that the Saints, as a small business, could not afford to do to get a sun study done. So we hired professionals to do a sun study. And I know you mean well, and we love your ideas. And that's why Mike was intrigued by you, because he's an idea guy. And so you guys connected on that level. But this is dangerous. Having a left-handed batter at the plate with the sun in his eyes, with a pitcher throwing an 85-mile-an-hour ball or a 92-mile-an-hour pitch is a dangerous scenario. When you keep talking about the outfielders, the ball is not coming as fast or as changeable as when you're standing 60 feet away. So honestly, it makes me shake when you say it's not an issue. I get nervous because we don't want someone to die at this new ballpark.
Nobody does. Like I say, this is what we try not to do is get bogged down with exactly what direction. Frankly, I could care less. I mean, I could care in the sense of view that the ball players are safe and it's done the right way. I think the important thing to take away from this is the concept. You know, which way it's exactly spun, that's up to the Saints. Certainly they're the prime tenant of the field. And I think to be married to one thing and to talk about it is really, it's not the issue.
Go ahead.
Thank you again. I'm Mike Hahn. I'm the Parks Director for the City of St. Paul. I think this is as good as opportunity as any to kind of clarify what...
Mike, if you want to come up on the stage, you're welcome to it. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
The spotlights on a stage are sometimes distracting if you've never been on a stage, so I'll try my best not to distract. As Andy said, very receptive to the ideas, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and be welcomed on the stage tonight. To clarify the city's position, Mr. Haskell referenced the letter that Mayor Coleman sent out within the last 10 days. There's also a fact sheet that accompanies that. Both of those items were available at the front desk, and I have some with me here that I'd be happy to share. To review what's in there, first and foremost related to the parking at Market House, which was the subject of eminent domain condemnation related to the project, and that we know those property owners are looking for replacement parking. I did sit in, the city is committed to trying to figure out a solution to that other than the condemnation proceedings. Earlier today I sat in a meeting with Mayor Coleman and a group of building owners to discuss just that issue.
Put up your hands. Anyone here miss building owners?
So there's, recognize a couple of them that were there. Being at the meeting, can share that there's a couple strong leads that we're pursuing. Can we guarantee a specific solution? No. Can we guarantee that we're going to see it through until we can pursue an acceptable solution and find that? Yes. So we're working toward that end. The second thing is we have taken a look at this over time and have concluded that there is no adaptive reuse of the building that's going to result in a ballpark project. I'll let Annie articulate the Saints ownership position for herself, but that's for a couple of reasons, and I'm going to do my best to articulate it right now. The first, and it's hard, because I like ideas, and it's Minnesota. We have a tradition of being nice, so I don't mean this in a mean-spirited way in any form, but the ballpark design that's being referenced on top of parking is a bad ballpark design. It just doesn't work. It's not acceptable for a professional ball team at any level. It's not acceptable for high amateur ball. It's not a ballpark design that works.
Why?
It's pointed out in the fact sheet for a variety of reasons. Andy pointed out the sun angle. There's also issues that for a ballpark, the alignment of where the dugouts are, the support spaces, the concourses, restrooms and concessions pretty much are in a programmed delivery space based on the number of seats, and it just doesn't work. Our partners are not in the project with with that design. That concept does not result in a ballpark. The second thing we looked at, knowing that, we did look at, could we look at parking on the lower levels of Gillette and put the existing ballpark design on top of it. We've concluded that that also doesn't work for 3 reasons. Reasons related to regulatory issues. It pushes the ballpark too high. We're going to have issues with the FAA related to lighting. We're going to have issues related to other matters that were laid out in the city's environmental assessment worksheet that were laid out. Environmental assessment worksheets in the public realm, I assure you those issues are very real. We're not making the issues up. We put them to paper. The second issue is related to financial. And regardless of if a parking structure could operate successfully from the private sector or the public sector, to elevate the ballpark up a level would add between $3 and $4 million of additional costs to the existing ballpark design. Looking at the city's current design on top of parking doesn't work financially. The third issue is elevating the ballpark design up from street level entrance and elevating the field level from where it's currently programmed also doesn't work. That also is a bad ballpark design. It would require that we move people from street level up in order to go down to their seats. It would require that the concoursing and massing of people is different than it is now. It would not support the revenues and operations that we're dependent upon to pay back the bonds that we're issuing for the ballpark. It doesn't work.
I would like to ask you a question. When this whole ballpark thing started, I read that there would be community meetings where the community could put input, but it has gone on until the last 6 months, and now we get the community input. Why should we have this first? And as far as the expense, you have a 2-block by 1-block building of Gillette building to demolish. Is that correct?
Where's the mic?
Is it correct that you have to demolish a 2-block by 1-block building, 4-story? Is that correct?
600,000 square
Do
feet.
you have to demolish a 2-block by 1-block building, 4 stories high? Is that correct?
I'm assuming everybody can hear the question now that there's a microphone.
We weren't answering.
The question is, the question is demolition of the existing
I didn't say
ballpark.
that. I said, I asked you.
Wait,
You just
hey,
answer.
put the microphone at your mouth and speak.
I ask you, do you have to demolish a 2-block by 1-block, 4-store building? Answer yes or no.
We do have to demolish the
Yes.
building, yes.
How much will it cost the city to remove 2 blocks by 1 block, 4 stories high of a very well-built concrete reinforced building? And where are you going to take it? That doesn't cost pennies, that costs millions. And another thing, this building has a base on it, and we have questions about pollution or soil underneath it. And the city has come now to the conclusion that they have to keep the base on it, right? Do you not think it would be much wiser just to demolish a little and use the rest for increasing our tax base in St. Paul? We have lost Macy's tax base. Let's have something that brings in money 12 months a year.
Again, I was just about to wrap up then. I'll try to take questions. if that will help. But the city's position is articulated on paper, and we've looked at it, we've examined facts, we've reported back on them. The facts related to this are very real. With the building, with the orientation that's proposed, there is no ballpark. With adding parking and putting the ballpark on top of it, there's also not a ballpark design that works. We also don't have a partner that's interested in that project. I'll let Annie speak to that. And again, I appreciate folks' time. I'm here.
I think it is too late. You didn't ask our opinion a year ago.
Yes.
You made your opinions. You didn't have your community meetings.
Hi, everybody.
And the mayor did not answer my phone call, and the Pioneer Press didn't print 2 of my letters, but they certainly did print Mayor Coleman's comments.
Thanks. I'm Nancy. I live in the neighborhood and have lived in downtown St. Paul for many years. I think it would be great to have the ballpark. I've been at the Midway Stadium many times and enjoyed myself there, but I think it is important to have a multi-use building, and I think it's very important to have parking, not just for the people who are attending the ball games, and not someplace across the way where they don't stay in the downtown area and spend their money eating and drinking and so forth in our establishments. I think I like Bill's ideas. I like the drawings that were suggested and whatever by the Saints, but I think that there can be some middle ground, and I don't think that ideas, it's something about the restrooms and the dugouts, I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, that's not a viable reason. You can certainly relocate those somewhere. You know, this is, at Midway Stadium, I'm sure they're not ideal. And you can get variances from the FAA, or at least try to. You know, they hear requests for variances all the time. There certainly are other kinds of things that are possible. I mean, you know, we're talking about impacting all of the residential that is in the Lowertown area now. We're talking about the farmers market. I mean, how are growers supposed to get in there? I mean, you know, it would be such a nice thing. You could have food trucks using that farmers market area for doing whatever, tailgating or something, you know. I mean, but you need some parking. You need some, it just doesn't, it's ridiculous to have just one design with no sound barriers and expect it to be used 12 months out of the year when, look at, we've got 7 months out of the year winter here in Minnesota. I mean, you know, there's a Twins game coming up this weekend in an open air stadium. That's, how many people are going to be there in their snowmobile suits and stuff? This is, it's crazy. When we're spending this kind of money, we should be spending it smart. And if it costs $4 million more out of $54 million to do something, you know, there's going to be revenue from this parking. There's going to be revenue from these businesses. No, nobody may have committed yet, but there's nothing on the drawing board for somebody to commit to. I mean, I think all of us are interested in helping to marshal some interest. If the city leadership can't do it, the city residents will help to do it. You know, we'll find some things that are energizing and revenue building that can be in there. So please work with us. I mean, we are excited to have this, but we don't want something on the end of the Lowertown area that really drives all of the residents out of that area, removes our farmers market to who knows where, so we just have neighborhood markets, and really changes the whole texture of downtown.
I appreciate what you're saying. Again, my name is Annie. I work for the St. Paul Saints. I worked for the Saints. I started in 1992. Before we ever played a game, I was there the first 4 seasons, and it was a magical thing, the way the community came out and gathered and came together. I always talk about the 3 C's of Saints baseball, which we would love to bring to Lowertown. conversation, connection, and community. And that's why I'm there, and that's why I returned to the Saints in 2004 to help make this ballpark happen. When there was a glimmer of hope that a new ballpark could be built with the city and the Saints as partners seeking some state bonding funds, we asked the mayor where he would like us to look. And he told us basically the Fort Road neighborhood and the Lowertown neighborhood. And we reached out to both communities, including city council members. And City Councilmember Thune said to us, if you're gonna even look at this neighborhood, I want you to go out and meet with people. And we did. In 2009, we had at least 12 meetings. I could go back and dig through my notes. I attended a lot of the Capitol River Council community events. I hope some of you here will back me up that you've seen me around a lot. And then there was some starts and stalls with the legislative process, and basically people told me, Annie, step away and let the legislative process play out. I mean, you know, people don't want to keep seeing you going around talking about the ballpark when the legislature wasn't talking about the ballpark. So I was laying low for a bit. And you know, I'm regretting that now, but that was the advice I was given, is cool it a little bit, Annie. So we heard a lot of feedback. Basically, anytime there was someone in the room with their arms crossed in the back of the room, I would go over to Mike Beck and nudge him and say, you know, that person in the back seems like he or she has an issue. And Mike would engage that person and we would find out what the issues were. The issues were parking, noise, and lights. If we raise this building up higher, the noise and lights are going to be worse. It's not going to be better, it's going to be worse. We're trying to build it into the hill so we become part of the neighborhood. We don't want to dominate the neighborhood, we're trying to be a part of it. Our architect that we're working with is a nationally, actually internationally recognized architect. That drawing you guys see is not my favorite drawing either. We needed something quickly to get to the legislature. Yeah, it's not my, I mean, she's a really talented gal, but we gave her like 3 days to whip something up because we were told when we went around and visited with our legislative leaders, they like something to look at. So, you know, I'm sorry that's what we used, and I don't know if that's the picture I slid under your door or not.
That's what you slid under my door.
So I'm just a baseball gal and a community person. And our organization would love to be a part of your community. And that's why we work so hard to make this happen. I mean, honest to God, this has been a labor of love. The former Senator Harrington, who used to be the chief of police, said the best thing for downtown, for Lowertown, as far as reducing crime and having more of a sense of community and having it be more dynamic, is if the Saints go down there, because good people will gather and bad people go away when good people are gathering. And we want to be a part of the good people of Lowertown.
Say, ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
My question is, when you were having all these meetings,
Yes, sir.
did you ever think about meeting with Tom Erickson, whose building is right across the street from the location?
Anybody who asked us to come meet with them, we met with.
Oh, but did you
And-
ever think of
No,
proactive-
I apologize. I live in Como Park. I don't know this neighborhood as well, or I didn't then. And basically, we sort of drew a circle around the site. And I apologize that I didn't reach out
Let
to
me
you.
ask you another question. Did you ever think about asking or interviewing any of the businesses around the neighborhood
We did quite a bit of that as well.
and ask them about how it would impact them? Because I don't recall, Tom, you telling me that anybody in your building was contacted.
No, in fact, about 2 years ago.
Speak up.
About 2 years ago, when this was first, I actually tried to track down Mike Beck. I've never met him before. I still haven't met him since I've talked to him on the phone. And I did talk to him on the phone, mentioned that parking was an issue. We were to get together, it never happened, but he assured me that before this thing got too far down the track, we would have that kind of input. And that was about 2 years ago. But I'll tell you what, I really do appreciate Annie. I don't mean to cut you off, or Mike. I'm sure this is going to be a spirited discussion, maybe. It sounds kind of like it's starting right now, but We do have a presentation here. If Bill can just quickly go through it, kind of get back on track, and then everybody's welcome to be here as long as possible.
Just for closure.
Sure.
I just want you all to know that the St. Paul Saints, with the current design being discussed with our partners, the City of St. Paul, the idea and concept that was supported through the deed funding grant is what we are committed to. We have committed $10 million to that project. And as far as this other concept, it is not going to work baseball-wise or business-wise for the St. Paul Saints to move into the Bill Hosco design.
I thought we were the city of St.
So
Paul.
let the Saints go someplace else.
Okay, and if that's what the community wants, maybe the Wild wants to invest in this. But as far as the labor of love that we have put into this, I just need you all to understand. We have a partnership with the City of St. Paul. We've worked with legislators for 4 years, and we've made a commitment to them as far as this being an ADA compliant facility, having it be close to the light rail, and having it blend into the community and not dominate the community.
Okay, one question here.
I need to...
Let's get back on track here. And we're going to have lots of questions in about 10 minutes. Let's just.
It's not an either-or proposition, though. Isn't there some other multi-use thing that is not either to reuse the Gillette or to use that design?
Well,
I mean,
that's
there
something
have to be
that's
other-
something that's come through my mind too, because one of the things that the city has said is, "Oh, we've tried for 10 years to fill this thing up," and I had no idea what was going on over there. If somebody would have come to perhaps some other people like you, I think would mention that the neighborhood and people got involved with it, maybe we wouldn't even be talking about a ballpark there. Maybe we'd be talking about something else. But that's all water. Let's just get back on track here, and I let all you people talk and not me. And Bill quickly come to a finish here. Very good.
You know, when I came up with this idea in January of 2011, Mayor Coleman, somebody heard this 2 weeks ago, he had an opportunity to look at this design in its early phases. He refused to even look at the concept, so he rejected it right out of the gate. I've been steadfastly over the last few years showing it to people. I went to the lawmakers up at the Capitol. A lot of them liked this, but nobody really wanted to. Andy, with all due respect, you yourself just said you didn't like the design either. What you like is the footprint. That's where we have our disagreement.
Just that first drawing of her coming in off the street. That's all I was talking about.
Yeah,
that particular drawing is not my favorite. That's all.
That was rejected, as about a month ago. As far as community meetings, since January of 2011, there was one in perhaps January of 12. I met you, Annie, in the Northern Building. As far as I know, there wasn't one in that whole 1 year span. And until that time, there wasn't another one until the Lowertown Ballpark Design and Construction Committee started meeting last October. And some of you have been to those meetings, and they forbid discussion on Gillette. They forbid the meetings being recorded. That's the truth. And only these last 2 meetings, the last Ballpark Committee meeting and the last Parking Committee meeting, have they actually let those of us in the audience participate. When they went through their design correct several months ago, they forbid the audience to take part. It was only the committee members. So I'm sorry this did upset me. But I'm going to get back on track, and I'm going to talk about that sun issue. As far as the sun, I showed you a diagram. The major league ballparks across America, they're all over the place. Did you see that diagram? And as far as during part of the season, the building will cast a shadow across it. During part of the season, Tom's building will cast a shadow across it. During the height of the season, I don't know if I came up with this or somebody else, you've got the outfield light posts, and I'm going to talk about their height in a little while. Look at the mayor's letter, and we'll get to that in a little while. You can do a screen, almost a curtain, between the light posts, and you position it when you actually need it those few weeks out of the season. Mike Kahn, when we first talked about this a year and a half ago, you said it was an unproven theory. I said I could build a scale model for you and get a flashlight out, and you didn't want to hear that. This is a reasoned way of dealing with the sun issue. Somebody said you could even put advertising on each side of that banner. One side would be facing 94, and it would filter the sun. It's not going to endanger any ball players. I'm going to move along here. Hold on, Peter. I got to move along here, okay, please? And then we're Get your letters out again. I'm going to move along. Okay. There's plenty of time for questions a little later on. We're at now, that was, number 3 was at best practices, okay, as far as the orientation. When you look at other fields across the country, they've been all over the place. Number 4, accessibility, American with Disabilities Act. Here. Okay. Does their plan have any ADA parking on site? Where do you drop off people who have severe physical disabilities? In front of it along Broadway Street, right? That's fine. I'm not saying there's anything bad with it. You save Gillette. This is from the beginning I thought of this. 60 spaces for ADA parking right across from the main entrance. They're not being dropped off on a curb. They actually have a safe place to go. I'm going to get onto the ballpark, the dog park discussion. From the beginning, I don't want to get into where it's at now. All of you know it's right there, right? Does any of you know that? And then the Market House parking lot, which is going away for this concept, is right there. The nice thing about this concept, the reason why it's set so far back in the building, I believe it's critical that 6th Street, right now it's 5th Street, 6th Street be allowed to wrap around the facility so you're not going to have gridlock on Broadway and Prince Street. To not do that, it's going to be a mess. The dog park almost triples in size. And we heard from the mayor that the dog park would go away with the Gillette concept. I don't know where that came from. It's simply not true. Okay, ADA. I mean, yeah, okay, fine. You know, with the city's plan, everybody comes in the main gate. And those in wheelchairs, I guess, are stuck up along the back road. They can't go right down to the field level. With Gillette, there's several access points to this, folks. People in wheelchairs and walkers would have options. I'm going to show you one other thing here real quick. Okay, you know that's Target Stadium. Okay, there's not one level for wheelchairs there. I mean, they got options, man. What's wrong with options? Gillette offers options, just like Target Field does. We're going to get to that. Okay, and then, let's go on to number 5 here. We got mechanical systems. Either project's going to need mechanical systems. And the nice thing about Gillette is it's meant to be built in phases. Get the ballpark component done. You saw that core area? Leave the bottom area raw. Sell it to some developer for $1. Let them put in the parking ramp and get it on the tax rolls. The 2 levels of the building on the east side, that was more parking right from the beginning. Let the city sell that and get it onto the tax rolls. The 3 levels of commercial space on this side of the building up above, the city doesn't need to build that out. The city doesn't need, when you build an office building, they don't build out all the floors. They build out the floors as they get tenants. So the city's primary concern with that $54 million, and it's your money, is get the ballpark component done. And there's the first level there again. Okay, space restrictions. This boggles my mind because there's so many ways for people to move up and down and through this. And the one tight area, I've said it right at the beginning, is right here. These columns, they won't let me in the building. I was able to get the floor plans from a leasing agent about a year ago. But since then, nobody in the city will allow me in the building. So all I can do is work on the floor plans I have. This is perhaps a 12-foot walk-around area. I mean, people at this part of the stands won't be able to walk through a 12-foot hallway and get over to this area or vice versa. They can do it on the other levels up above. Homeland security issue, the mayor mentioned that. And again, I like Chris, but if somebody's going to say I'm wrong, and if I think I'm right, I'm going to tell you what I think. Homeland security, having cars go underneath the building. Somebody's going to drive a truck in there and blow up a bomb and kill the fans at a Saints game. As I said earlier, there's about a 26-foot high ceiling in there, folks. It's a hugely reinforced building. The other thing is, no vehicle of any height. You would have to get a large U-Haul truck in there to have enough explosives to try to work its way through the first floor. This would have height restrictions, so nothing bigger than an SUV would be able to get in there. And With all due respect, if the mayor's worried about homeland security issues, we just spent $250 million on Union Depot, our national treasure, right? You can drive right underneath that sucker. And there aren't a lot of people there yet, but there will be once Amtrak starts running. In the summer months and when there's a major holiday, there will be thousands of people in there. That's an opportunity for a terrorist. They're not going to be worried about a Saints game here in downtown St. Paul.
If I get up every morning and worry about someone blowing me up, I might as well get into my pocket.
And you can tell everybody where you came from. Tell everybody where you came from.
Ireland.
Ireland.
We blew up everything.
You know, in Ireland, I mean, terrorism exists. I mean, we can't live in fear. And over there, it's like something happens. You go about your business. You don't live in fear that something might happen. And then these are the other levels. I'm talking about, circulation. And, here's parking potential there. I could go on and on and keep moving along here. Yeah, fine. Okay. Let's go to space restrictions, pedestrian and vehicle access. There's plenty of movement, folks. Visual connections to the Bruce Bento Nature Sanctuary and Bluff. Okay, as I said earlier, looking down 5th Street, tear the building down, you're not going to be looking at Bruce Bento and Mountain Sparks over there. You're going to be looking at the traffic on that bridge. The Lafayette Bridge is higher than this roof, and then it's lower than the big Gillette roof. You're not going to be seeing a nature sanctuary. And behind this building is going to be a block-long turnaround yard for the light rail maintenance facility. And this body of blue water you've been seeing really isn't going to be blue water. It's going to be a mud pit. It's where the runoff is for the Lafayette Bridge. And I think by FAA requirements, it needs to soak into the ground within 24 hours so flocks of geese can't take flight there. So that will not be a pond. There's a 10-foot high retaining wall, so you won't even be able to see it. And then the other thing, I'm concerned about this, and when I met with Mike Beck, I said, I want you to do well. I want him to make money. I don't want him to have a honeymoon period, so to speak, and the attendants slack off. Well, and everything to be very concerned about this concept, because it is dug into the ground. The view from the top stands, you're going to see over the top of this room. You're going to see a bunch of air conditioning units, and then the traffic on the Lafayette Bridge. As you go down, they say it's a bowl, you're being dug into the ground. The view is going to be the back wall of this building and the overhead traffic on the Lafayette Bridge going back and forth. Somebody said to me one day, well, you're going to be able to see Mounds Park from the stands. I said, you're not going to be able to see Mounds Park. If you're over here, what you're going to be looking at is the light rail turnaround yard. You're not going to see Mounds Park. Let's continue on. Visual connection to Bruce Sanctuary. There we go. With this concept, when you're in the lower stands, because you've got the outfield wall and then you've got the security wall beyond that so nobody on the outside can crawl in. What you're looking at largely is sky. You're not seeing much of anything. As you get higher up in the stands, you're going to see Tom's building, the Capitol. You're going to see the traffic certainly, but there's a psychological difference between looking down upon it or looking up at it, going back and forth. And as you saw those earlier photos, when you get up on this roof, man, that sucker is a peninsula sticking out there. The view is just fantastic. Okay, and there's the building now, and I told you, when you take that sucker down, you're going to be looking at Lafayette Bridge. Okay, let's move down to the next 9, FAA regulations. Before Tom speaks, and he's going to speak very shortly, retired pilot for Northwest Airlines. These are some of the codes that you hear about regarding the airport. And both concepts are within that cone. As far as the Gillette building, it's an existing building. We're not building anything new. And the new light rail maintenance facility, that sticks in there, so there's a variance given for them. Okay, this is the view from the Market House condominiums, I think Chuck's unit. Looking out over, this is the front corner of Gillette. Now look out here, folks. You see how much higher this building is than this? And this is within the middle of that cone. I'll show you one other thing here. This is from Tom's roof, okay? It's about 4 stories higher. The outfield light posts for the Gillette concept, because if this, what's this height, 40 stories? 40 feet, 50? Okay. If the light posts are 80 feet high, are they really going to be any higher than Tom's roof, where we're at right now? Let me take
It'll still be quite a bit shorter than this Verizon sign, which is another 40, 50 feet above our roofs.
Okay, this is right behind me. Tom, tell people about, real quickly, this downtown airport has had more variances given than many in the country because of its location.
I would say more than many. It's actually pretty common. And I've talked to Paul about this issue, and I've also talked to the Great Lakes region about this issue of because we were at it early on stage, told we couldn't do it because it raised light posts up, and I started talking about FAA issues. I tried to scratch my head. Did some research into this airport and the various restrictions that are already accompanied. They are right in the sense that when the FAA looks at a runway, it has to do with what they're concerned about is landing minimums, for instance, an ILS approach. There has to be certain clear areas. They have these cones that go away from the airport with different gradations without getting into all the details. And so if there's any buildings or signs or light posts or whatever that incurred into these things, it may, but it may not. They take each case into individual circumstances. It might affect the landing run minimums for that runway. Now, particularly at this airport here, we're talking about runway 14 at Coleman, and runway 14 at Coleman already is highly restricted because of the buildings he was talking about, perhaps because of our sign and a number of other issues. So that the minimums are already high at runway 14. So the question remains then,
Tom, is that this?
Yeah.
The one points right.
Right, and so the issue becomes, and the FAA takes each one of these things under consideration, is will the light posts, whether they're X height from the air or 20 feet higher than X, will that affect the minimums? If it does not affect the minimums, then and again, the process with the FAA, I believe that the city has already started the process here in the last couple of weeks, complying with the FAA with lights of their proposal. You could reapply to the FAA and put them 40 feet higher or whatever, and they still might accept it without deviating or making the minimums higher on that runway, because that's already a restricted runway with all the other garbage that's around the neighborhood there. So by putting in light posts, it's a theoretical thing. They're saying poking some light posts into that cone would be illegal with the FAA. No, it's not illegal with the FAA. They would have to approve it, and because of the fact that there's already so much obstruction, contamination in the neighborhood already, my guess is, and what my preliminary talks with the FAA are, is it probably wouldn't make any difference, because everything else is, there's other restrictions in there that are would even be worse than what sticking light posts would be. So you don't know until because it has to go through the office here in the Great Lakes region in Twin Cities, it has to go through Chicago, it has to go through Fort Worth, and maybe even go through Washington, D.C. You're talking about a multi-month application process, but in all probability, my guess is that putting the light post 20 or 30 or even 40 feet higher probably would not make any difference, but you'll never know until you make the application.
Real quickly, Metro State, most of the planes that come into the airport, they come in from the east. I mean, this is brand new. This sticks up a lot higher in the air than Gillette does. As far as the light posts, the higher the light posts hurting the residents downtown, actually I would argue they will hurt them less, because they're going to be higher than any of the nearby roofs, where the city's plan is actually closer in line with the top floors of the Allen Building, the Market House, etc. Okay, let's go on to number 10. Planning for a ballpark with capacity for thousands of fans with such a limited space makes our ability to maintain any part of the diamond product structure nearly impossible, certainly too costly, and compromises basic ballpark best practice design fundamentals. Again, you look at the minor league ballparks across America, they're not cookie cutter. I mean, there's all shapes, sizes, some of them work around existing buildings. I mean, they're just full of character. This dovetails into number 11. The most recent study, which looks specifically at reusing the building for underground parking, estimated the additional cost for underground parking in excess of $12 million, and revenue figures for the additional parking spots falling far short of what we needed to service the additional debt. Tim, I don't know if you want to speak for a couple minutes, or Tom to that. Go ahead.
Tim, why don't you go ahead, because you're the one that made the walkthrough, and And actually, just to, I guess, point out that it has not been a total adversarial relationship. Paul Johnson, who is a consultant working for the city of St. Paul in this regard, allowed us, we were talking to him at one of these meetings here several weeks ago or a couple of weeks ago, and allowed, and Tim went through the building, and what we did is we got some appraisers or building estimators from Donner Construction. They were nice enough to come by and they gave us an estimate by just looking at it. And of course, but walking through the building, you probably can't get much of a real, down to the penny estimate, but they look at, numbers of square feet, like for instance, give you an example of electricity. They don't tell you where every switch is going to be or every light is going to be, but they said it's going to cost so many dollars per square foot based on, and they just look at the 204,000 square feet, and this is how much electrical is going to be. But actually, I guess their estimates become pretty close to within 10-15% just by looking at it per square foot basis. It's the same thing with an example we talked about cutting a section out, and they go by cubic feet. When they take partial of a building of this type, and they've done it lots of times before. Down there's a big company, as is Ryan, Mortensen, Carl Sanderson. These are all companies that have done this many, many times in the past, and they just add up the cubic feet. Of course, most of it's air in there, but they count that as, being a part of the cubic feet. 30 to 50 cents a cubic foot is what it costs for what they call partial taking out of the building. They know exactly how it works.
I think Thomas said it. I think that the preliminary numbers that we've gotten from this builder are a lot lower than what the city is saying in the letter. And just to reiterate, I'm all in favor of the Saints in the ballpark, but I think the city and the people involved with this thing have failed miserably in terms of reaching out to the neighborhood. I mean, Councilman Thune, I'm not an expert like you, but I know that if I'm a business and I want to do something with my business and I have to go to the planning commission and I gotta go to all the neighbors and get them to sign and come to the planning commission and say, I've talked to all the neighbors and this is what they think and this is how they feel, and I think that's what you have to do. And here's the city putting up this big project. And did they go over and walk across the street from their building and talk to Tom Erickson once in the last period of time, other than these last 2 months when he found out about all this stuff? Did they go to any of the tenants in Tom's building? Tom's got a tenant that's been in there for 15 years, and they counsel vulnerable adults. And they've told Tom that if this thing goes out and the parking is not going to be working for them, they're going to move. Where was the outreach? Like the normal person has to do if they're coming to the city to get something done. They have to go through all this stuff, and yet the city couldn't figure out, or the Saints or whoever's involved with this, to walk across the street to Market House, to walk across the street to the Ericksons, and to talk to all of you people that are downtown in Lowertown and ask you how it's going to affect you. To me, it's just unconscionable how that's been handled. And that's my position on this thing. These numbers that they've thrown out on the parking are not correct, and we've kind of already been able to figure that out. I'm done.